Anybody knows what is going on, what really is happening, or how near we are to the things that we are discussing and thinking about on a weekly basis? Anyone has an idea as to, let's say, out of 10, on a scale of 10, how near are we? Of course, we cannot give a date or even we can't even say it will be the next 2 3 years or 7 years. Who knows what it? But when you look at things and where they are right now, in the last week, did you hear what you need to hear, and were you startled, especially in the last week? I know we don't, actively follow the news, and it's not very good to dedicate ourselves to the news. To be very frank, just a second, huh? As if nothing. Life has a tendency to go on because we are so used to the present conditions, and so smoothie drinkers continue drinking smoothie, coffee drinkers continue drinking so coffee. Because nothing, our life has not been interrupted yet. It is just like a big cruise ship. I've not been in a cruise, but I can imagine when a big cruise ship starts turning, right? It needs a very large radius to turn, number one. Number two, it takes a long time to turn. So if you're standing on the back side of the deck or the middle or the front, wherever you're standing, probably the captain may know that the thing is turning. But as a passenger, you wouldn't know. People in the know, people, in the, deck of the ship, that the captain and his folks would know that it is turning because they are the ones who are turning. But if you're on the deck somewhere and you're looking outside, you may have an idea of things, but you would really, it may take some time for you to gauge it. Likewise, the whole world is slowly turning, but because we are not able to see everything at the same time, um, we do not probably recognize. Another thing is we are not affected. It's just like in a ship, whether it's turning or not, you're not affected. You're still on the ship. You're having a breakfast, dinner, whatever you have, and then having your necessary enjoyment in the cruise ship. But the fact of the matter is, the whole ship is turning to a new world order. And nobody else other than our own president said this week boldly. He himself said it, as if it is a casual thing, In this new world order, we are going to be the prominent nation. So he recognizes in the White House and other prominent people of this world who are CEOs of companies and things like that, they recognize that a new world order is coming. The question is, do we recognize it and do we understand what it means? Or do we have a chance to forego the coming of the Lord this time, because this new world order would not be the Antichrist order? New world order means the present order of things and the present way in which countries relate to each other, and how commerce, especially commerce, right? Selling and buying of goods is done. And the fact that there is another prominent power in the world, all these things are changing. Number one. Number two, whenever there is a new world order coming in, there is going to be immense disruption of normal human lives. Immense. When a Roman Empire became the prominent empire in the world, the superpower of the world, they were slowly but steadily gobbling up nations, right? Because nobody could withstand them. They were steadily gobbling up nations. And so it took about 50 or 60 years for them to settle down. And there's this great disruption all throughout the world, all throughout the world. Because Europe slowly was gobbled up, and then they came to Asia, Asia Minor, and then came to the Middle East, modern Middle East, and then the northern part of Africa. Finally, the whole of this region around the Mediterranean is in the hands of the Roman Empire. Likewise, last 75 years or 80 years, since 1948, the new Bretton Woods Agreement that was done in those days, where finally America had all the gold of nations. Why? Because America sold weapons and got all the nations' money. Remember, English was the superpower, UK was the superpower before the Second World War. But the Second World War caught up to them and they didn't have enough weapons. Ultimately, everything runs on weapons. Whether we recognize it or not, the world runs on weapons. So what did Theodore Roosevelt say? He said, we have some old ships that are lying in the docks from First World War. So he promised those ships to Churchill. Churchill was very happy because they needed them. Churchill, initially he wanted the United States to be part of the war, but the US didn't want to. And so what happened is, finally, Roosevelt allowed those old World War I ships to be used by England. Because England was severely in a shortage of arms and armaments at that time. Moreover, England was so spread out, right? The United Kingdom was so spread out that they needed weapons, especially Navy-related ships, to be successful in the Second World War. By the way, it is said that Churchill thought that this was basically a loan that was being given by the US government. But Roosevelt said, no, if you don't have money, give us the gold. Give us your gold. So in the Second World War, what happened is Europe actually transferred its gold for weapons. And US finally had all the gold under the sun, almost all the gold under the sun. Well, of course, the gold that is in the ground is there, but the gold of the nations flowed into the United States. And so after the Second World War, what happened was there was a new economic agreement between the United States and the Western nations, along with the allied nations that allied with the West against the Soviet Union. And so America, what did America do? Because America had a lot of naval warships. They promised oceans, right? Because oceans are used for business, whether we like it or not. All products that come from China, they come through the sea. And so they promised all nations that they will make all the sea lanes viable and protected. So the US Navy protected and guaranteed that the sea lanes would be guaranteed all around the world. Bring your products to the United States, we will buy it. Only thing that you have to do is stand with us against Soviet Union. That was the only condition that America put on the nations that allied with it, including Europe. Bring all your products, we'll buy it. Get into alignment with us. We will also make sure that you can bring the products into the United States, into the docks, in the to the harbors of the United States. We will buy it from you. So they had a particular trade agreement, a peculiar trade agreement with all the nations, with all the allied nations. And so this was how this present order that you see right now was established. Of course, Soviet Union evaporated, and what was remaining was America, the sole superpower. Again now, slowly but steadily, this present order is disturbed, especially after this Ukraine war, because Putin is not going to take any more of this present order. Putin, China, India, Brazil, they already formed the BRICS nations, but now I think at the behest of Putin, Russia is basically saying, we are not going to take this anymore. That's exactly what Putin is saying. And so he's just leveling Ukraine. If you see some pictures, well, that's the habit of the Russians anyways. This is what they've been doing in Syria for a long time. I'm not just with the backhand just saying, oh, well, that's a habit and that's how they do it. These are all wrong things, but in the world, there is no wrong. In war, everything is right, right? That's why they go to war. It is foolish for nations to go to war and then basically say, you know what, we have to have ethics in war. The very fact that you go to war is a breakage of ethics, right? So, of course, we can understand that there is some sort of an ethics. There's the Geneva Convention have been signed by all the nations, and so we have to abide by the Geneva Convention. But what did America do in the last couple of years? And they've been bombing using UAVs, bombing families in Afghanistan and other places without any judicial oversight or congressional oversight. So everything is right in war, in a sense. Remember one thing: highly educated societies, when they go to war, they are brutal. That's exactly what is going to happen. Human nature cannot be controlled in war. The sinful nature of man will come out to be very brutal and completely outside. So all these things that they are talking about is just blinding us from the fact that we should not be blinded by any of these things, but we should be looking at the fact that, these things are happening, and they are happening for a purpose. We who are spiritual, when I say spiritual, we who have the Holy Spirit and who understand the scriptures should be able to look at these things and understand things differently. So here is the president. Now he does say this. Hope I can move this. Yes, there you go. Well, let me see if I can move this to the side here. So Joe Biden meets with top CEOs. Global catastrophe presents opportunities to lead new world order. Of course, remember one thing: what they always do is this: they take a catastrophe, right? You never let a catastrophe go to waste. They take a catastrophe and make changes. They push their agenda. That's what they do. So they took COVID and tried to push their agenda, the new medical agenda, right? Through it, suppressing the Christians and suppressing the churches, especially in Canada and other places. It is, of course, they wouldn't say it's anti-Christian, but that's exactly what they were trying to do in all their ways. So he himself is saying, global catastrophe presents opportunities. President Joe Biden expressed Monday his desire to lead a new world order during a conversation with business leaders. And America is thinking that, America is going to lead it. God decides who will be the superpower of this world. Remember what we read in Daniel. The angel speaking to Daniel, what is he saying? I am now going to fight against the prince of Greece. And what will happen? Against the prince of Persia. The prince of Greece will be prominent. So who is actually fighting? Who is establishing this behind the scenes? It is God himself, right? It is God himself. But of course, godless men, they gather together, decide that, we are going to do things. We are going to be prominent. As with all prominent nations, so also will be with America. Of course, I think I repeat this every Thursday. Of course, America is so clean. Look at the president. He's well cut, his well cut suit and slim man, though 80, but he's rambling on. Surely the leader of the superpower of this world. He's the president of the nation. But it is his party that is making the blood flow from different cities in the United States. And also, again, the first thing that he signed was to send money for abortion to other nations. That's the first thing that he signed. Now, whenever these people get into office, these Democrats get into the office, the first thing that they sign is send money to kill babies. That was the case with Biden, Obama, and even Clinton. All three. Bush and Trump, they will come in and revert this back to the old ways. So, of course, we think that we are going to be prominent. No, this nation is going to be prominent. The Lord is deciding, and He is deciding. He's fashioning a weapon. He's actually fashioning a weapon. against this nation. During a conversation with business leaders, noting the coronavirus pandemic and the Russian invasion of Ukraine would help reset the status quo. So they want these kind of things to push things around. But the surprising thing is this: what is going to be in the new world order? That is what we need to understand. That's what you're going to see today. See, they are talking about that, they are talking about the new world order and that we are going to go into a new world order. But what is the world that they are envisioning? That's what we are going to see. Now, this is the president saying, "My mother had an expression, out of everything terrible, something good will come if we look hard enough for it," Biden said, or Biden recalled. The president spoke about the current global climate during a speech with some of America's top CEOs attending the Business Roundtable Lobbying Group's quarterly meeting. "I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes," he said. So the first thing that they're going to change is basically currency. New world order needs a better currency. Now hear this, I'm not going to play the whole video. I don't think we need to see the whole video, but whenever it comes to that point, I'll cut it. Let me know if you cannot hear the audio, okay?
And US President Joe Biden is expected to sign a long-awaited executive order this week, which will direct Justice Department, Treasury, and other agencies in US to study the legal and economic ramifications of creating a central bank digital currency. The White House last year said it was considering a wide-ranging oversight of cryptocurrency market, including an executive order to deal with growing threat of ransomware and other cybercrimes. Biden's order sets an 180-day deadline for a series of reports on future of money and role that cryptocurrencies will play in evolving landscape. However, reports being ordered could still raise concern about such a move or conclude that it will require congressional approval. The Biden order, likely to come tomorrow, comes amid heightened concern about use of cryptocurrencies by Russian elites to circumvent Western sanctions that have cut Russia off from large portions of global economy. Moves by China and other economies are also there to create their own cryptocurrencies. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network yesterday warned financial institutions to watch out for potential attempts by Russian entities to evade sanctions imposed by Washington over Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Biden's order will ask Justice Department to look at whether a new law is needed to create a new currency, with the Federal Trade Commission and Consumer Financial Protection Commission and other agencies. It will study impact on consumers. Other studies will be ordered on impact of cryptocurrency on competitiveness, the market and technical infrastructure needed, and environmental impact of Bitcoin mining. WION now available in your.
So, what is going on? Remember, the new world order needs a new currency. Just like, we pay our bills online, we bank online. Now we buy groceries online. Of course, some amongst us would want to go into the store. But I don't know whether you have heard this or not. Kroger and other places, they are building stores where people cannot go in. These are large stores that are being built. All the products are underground, and there are these robots that run on top of these netted wired, flooring. They pick up products, pack it, send it outside through some sort of a drone, and will drop it on your backyard. Now, there are many stores that are cropping up like this, especially Kroger and major stores, Walmart, Sam's. So pretty soon, at least some of us who would not want to go to the store but want to sit in front of the computer would have an opportunity to order almost all of our groceries online. So everything is online pretty much. Working is online, chatting, video calls, everything has gone online. So what are they doing right now? They are also trying to bring a currency that is online. There are some advantages to the government. The government doesn't have to find paper to print paper currency. But the major advantage is this. Hear very carefully. The major advantage is this. If it's a digital currency, and that too, they are looking at a programmable digital currency. Programmable digital currency. You will see, let's say, $5,000 in your bank account. You go to your bank online and you'll see $5,000 in your bank account. And all that will be digital. Okay. Let us say you want to take $1 out of it. They'll ask you for what? Why do you need $1? Because you can pay this digital, you can use this digital dollar everywhere. Let us say you go to Walmart, and this is a walk-in store. You go to Walmart and you want to pay. Walmart will say, we will not take cash anymore. What are you going to do? Let's say you show your credit, you show your credit card. Of course, they'll swipe the credit card, and then they'll take your digital dollar from where? From your bank account and transfer it to the credit card company. And eventually, credit card will also go off because credit card security is very low as far as credit card is concerned. There are security concerns for credit cards. And eventually, what you'll use is basically a cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone. Even about 95% of Indians have cell phone. So these digital dollars will be a number in your bank account. You want to buy something, go to Walmart, show your scan your cell phone on top of it. And most of the time you'll be buying things from online. And these digital dollars are easily accessible online. But these are programmable dollars, which means this. They can basically say, let us say you're a Christian and you give 10% of your tithe or 20% of your tithe to the church. They can say you cannot use this dollar to give to your church, and they'll program it such a way that it cannot go to the church. Right? The thing with digital dollar is they can program it. Well, you cannot use this on chocolate because you're overweight, and so you cannot use these dollars for chocolate or ice cream. Right? Because you're using government medical system, and you cannot do this. Or let's say you go on a vacation and they basically find out that but you're taking money from the government. You cannot use this money for vacation, and they can put what I meant to say is this, or what they are trying to do is this: they are trying to make programmable money, which means that they have a better control over it. Do you want to know what happened in Russia? Remember, Russian government went to war with Ukraine. So not only did they actually put the burden upon the Russian oligarchs and the government, but they also kind of fined the people. The people rushed to take money from their ATMs, and there was no money in the ATMs. There were no money in the ATMs. They couldn't pull out rubles from the ATM. So common people in the street couldn't buy stuff to eat and drink because the West just shut off the money flow. This is exactly what they did in Canada also. What they did in Canada with respect to the truckers, right? What happened there is the government contacted the mortgage companies, pull the mortgage of the house from the houses, okay, from the houses of these convoy members. Number two, pull the loans for the trucks. They impounded the trucks and put a huge amount of debt burden on these people who came for the trucker convoy protest. This is what they are doing now in this present system. Think if the dollar is programmable and it's a digital dollar, they can control you in a way that is way beyond our imagination today. And they will control you. They will control you. Right? Next time you come, let's say you have a pandemic, you go out to a restaurant, right? Your dollar cannot be used if you're outside. Because in the pandemic, you need to be sitting inside, right? So now it's easy for them to control you. If let us say there's a lockdown for the next 10 days, no, you cannot. You cannot go out because now the dollar is trackable and you are also trackable along with it. So this is the new world. This is the currency of the new world order. They can control how much food you eat. Bobby, you're overweight. You cannot buy that chips. Sorry, you cannot spend money on chips, right? Because now what's happening is money, your medical history, all your stuff is being gathered together and they are intermingled, put together as your digital identity. Let's say you had 3 tickets, you cannot now use money for buying gasoline. You have to sit at home. So they can control the way in which you live based on what they believe. Number one. Number two, based on the values that the government has put forth. This is the peculiarity of the New World Order money. I hope you are seeing in this how the Antichrist could use this for what he wants to do. Because the world is not giving, the world is not going to a point where human beings are more liberated. In fact, the world is going to a point where human beings are constricted, right? They are constrained, they are controlled more and more. And that's a peculiarity of the New World Order. The Antichrist will come and make it a little bit more easier and simpler. You have some sort of a tag on your right hand or on your forehead. And you're easily recognizable. See, all this system that is being set up, it is a convenient, foundation for the Antichrist world order. I'm not saying that this new world order coming is the Antichrist world order, but you can see, from a distance, you can see what is going on. By the way, this is not spoken by somebody else. This is spoken by our president. Okay, so this is something out in the open. By the way, the president is saying that he has ordered the federal agencies, which is the Treasury as well as the uh, the departments, the federal agencies, the departments under the presidency to basically study. That's what he's saying, to study the feasibility of cryptocurrency as well as the digital dollar. But you know what? They have already done these studies. I think if you had heard a couple of weeks back, I talked about this. They have already done all these studies. The federal agencies, have been doing this for some time now. Though they've been saying, "Hey, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." The president has given 6 months. Within, I think, in a matter of 6 months, digital dollar will be out. Okay. Now, the printed dollar may not be out immediately, but eventually, let's say you go to Walmart and they say basically, we will not take cash anymore. What will you do? You have to pay it by credit card or digital dollar. Or what they're going to say is, you know what? Take the digital dollar, we'll put $100 extra in your account. We are all going to take it. Right? One way or the other way. Either today or tomorrow, we are going to take it. This is what they did. This is what Xi did in China. He told all the Olympic athletes, you know what? Take the digital one, we'll give you extra 10 ones. And they all took it. So not only did they convert their dollars to one, and then they got $10 one extra, $10 worth of one extra. Which is exactly what they're going to do here. Come and take the vaccination, you get $250. Right? You put money incentive into it and people go. That's exactly what they're going to do here also. Now, the question is, can you avoid it? You cannot avoid it. There's no way of avoiding it. We will all be carrying digital dollars. Eventually, they will phase out the currency, the paper dollars. Eventually, they will phase out. But, would it completely go? I don't think it will completely go. But for all your major purchases, you will end up using digital dollars. No doubt about it. By the way, the digital dollars, will be given to you based on what values you stand for. I'm talking about moral values you stand for. Okay? Because they're going to tie it with values. That's what they call, they don't call moral, they call it values. For example, are you supporting environmentalism? Sorry, you cannot buy that car because it produces much carbon, uh, CO2. So eventually, businesses are going to turn to such a point where whatever this new world order is going to put before you and control you through money, that's what the businesses are going to give you. We are already seeing this in some sort of a way right now. So this is also part of the new world order. A billion people who may have to die and will die. Okay, these are surprising thing to us, but Peter Cyan or Zian, however you want to say, he is a very prominent geopolitical analyst. He is the one who predicted 7 8 years back. He predicted Russia will have to attack and take over Ukraine. He said that 7 to 8 years back. Looking at the statistics and looking at the situation that, as far as population and other things are concerned, looking at the situation in Russia, he said that Russia cannot wait for too long to take Ukraine. Russia will have to take Ukraine, and he said by 7 to 8 years, by 2020, 21, this is going to happen. Of course, Putin started in 21. He actually the war started in 22, but he started accumulating troops around the border of Ukraine in 21. Now, this is the speed design. See what he says about what is going to happen next. Well, not next immediately, but in phases, this is going to happen. That's what he says. Hear it.
The thing that keeps me up at night is between what's going on in China and Russia right now, the world is in a huge fertilizer shortage, and it's not going to get better. And put this a little different way. In the 1990s and the 2000s, part of why global growth was so strong is that all of the supplies, the energy, the industrial inputs, the food that the Soviet system built in excess and distributed through its empire got dumped on the global market. And it was dumped on the global market for the next 25 years. That has kept inflation low. That has allowed any number of economic trends that we think of as normal to manifest. This is German manufacturing, Chinese manufacturing. This is the digital revolution. This is the energy transition. None of this would have ever been possible without FSU materials. It's also Brazilian and South Asian agriculture. Removing the Russians from the system, removing Chinese fertilizer from the system, breaking down globalization. We now have to go through those good years where we had all this stuff to build up all this capacity. We now have to do that in reverse. And if nothing goes wrong, and if we all trust each other and no one hoards, we're still going to lose 1 billion people. Because we have to go back at a minimum to the food situation that we had in 1992, when we had a much smaller population globally.
Okay. Interesting.
A better bet is that we're going to regress a lot more than that.
Okay.
So we're looking at a very different caloric situation globally. And you're looking at half the population of the world having to figure out how to get by with substantially less. That's my big worry.
Interesting.
Food shortage is coming. Food shortage is coming, especially in the West. Food items are going to be pricey. What he says makes sense if you really look at it. Now, there are three countries from which, two major countries from which I think 80 to 90% of the fertilizers, you can say 70% of the fertilizers come from. China and Russia are the two. And then the natural gas producing countries, there are several. The third kind of fertilizer comes from, right? Russia is completely out of the world system right now. I think yesterday, a day before yesterday, they said, to the Europeans, they said, you want our gas, pay in rubles. Where are the Europeans going to get the rubles? They have to convert all the US dollars into rubles. What's going to happen? There'll be a lot of US dollars in United States and less rubles because the rubles will go to Turkey. Sorry, will go to Russia. And if there are too many dollars in the United States or too many dollars in the world system running, what's going to happen? The value of money is going to go down again, isn't it? So Putin said yesterday that we are not going to take your payments through US dollars. If you want to buy gas from us, get it using rubles. Go find rubles. And by the way, Europe doesn't have any other place to get gas from. They have to go to Russia anyways, at least for the near future. So there are no and moreover, China is hoarding fertilizers. Remember, Chinese economy cannot work without fertilizers. There is not a normal area of land that produces wheat in China. At least in India, the whole of Punjab is wheat producing land. Right? Even without anything, that land will produce wheat. But China needs fertilizers to produce anything because the soil there is not very productive. Same thing with the United States. The United States can survive without fertilizers. Or US has the ability to produce its own fertilizer anyways, because it's a natural gas king of the world. Number one. Number two, it can make all sorts of potassium-based fertilizer, water. No, US has the ability to do it. But US cannot provide for the whole world. So many nations are going to go remember, without fertilizers, it is impossible to feed the world, especially this huge amount of people, about 8 billion people now, right? Already in Egypt and in other places, Egypt, I heard some of the Middle Eastern countries, the food prices are going up because they all live on wheat. Southeast Asia would be fine because we live on rice, and of course, rice also needs fertilizers. But major part of the world that lives on wheat, and wheat is not going to grow. Ukraine and Russia are the two major producers of wheat, and these are the two countries that are in war right now. So food shortage, it is coming.
The thing that
And that's why it says White House warns of global food shortage after Ukraine invasion. The White House confirmed Monday they expect certain parts of the world to suffer a food shortage as an effect of Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Now now everything is the problem of Putin, right? He's of course he is responsible for some of this. We do anticipate that higher energy fertilizer, wheat and corn prices could impact price of the growing and purchasing critical food supplies for countries around the world. White House Press Secretary Saki said Monday. She said food shortages were not expected to hit the United States, but rather countries in Africa, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Already India is having problems. India may not have wheat problems, but Southeast Asia depends on rice. And we are heavily dependent on fertilizers in Kerala and other places. Reports have pointed out that both Ukraine and Russia produce significant portions of world wheat, corn, and barley, as well as energy and fertilizers. Despite Saki's assurance that the United States would not suffer a food shortage, the cost of fertilizer, grain, and fuel could have a significant impact on food prices, and that is very true. If you go to the grocery stores, you do find that these things are in shortage. And we would see shelves empty. Number two, we will also see, especially vegetables, things like that has to be grown by means of fertilizer, being expensive or not in the store. So if you have a small piece of land somewhere or in your backyard, it's good to start something. I think it is good to start something if you have time and the wherewithal to do it. Now, collectively, we can do something, but these things are going to, these things are coming about. Another aspect on Sundays, they are now saying, at least, well, this is not a joke, but this is something that they're actually saying: car free Sundays. International Energy Agency, right? Yeah, it's an energy watchdog agency, set out 10-point plan to reduce global oil demands, right? Put the brakes on and keep the car in the garage on Sunday to ease oil shock, says IEA. Now, how many of us are going to come to church if we don't have cars, or if we cannot drive cars? Driving more slowly, turning down the air conditioning, car free Sundays, and working from home should be adopted as emergency measures to reduce the global demand for oil, according to the 10-point plan from IEA, the International Energy Agency. Such measures and changes to consumer behavior would allow the world to cut its oil usage by 2.7 million barrels per day within 4 months, equivalent to more than half of the Russian exports, the global energy watchdog said. Car free Sundays saves more than 380,000 BPD. I don't know what that stands for. One Sunday a month saves 95,000 in Switzerland. And the Netherlands and the West Germany did this during 1973 oil crisis, and some cities have used the measure to promote public health more recently. Now, remember one thing, don't think that this is going to come. In some cities in Europe, they are already doing this. Okay. You can only use public transport. Benefits include cleaner air. Yeah, that's what they're saying. Reducing noise pollution and improve road safety. Of course, even in the lives of people for whom God is important, they are trying to forcefully get God out of our lives too. Because we are dependent on car to get anywhere in the United States. I don't know if this will come to US, but who knows? With the present administration, they are dead against using oil, US oil. And if there's a shortage, they're going to basically bring up all these things. See what they did during COVID, especially Democrat run states, right? What they did during COVID in California, Michigan, and New York. So these are not out of the, out of consideration, to be very frank. These are some things that can easily happen. It's already happening in Europe. Well, what is the next main event? Again, the New World Order is predicting. Tired of COVID lockdowns? Well, a cyber pandemic seems to be next. Now, this was actually an article by NASDAQ last year. This was an article by NASDAQ last year. COVID pandemic, who knows whether it's over or not, but certainly cyber pandemic is coming. Disruption of work, disruption of your electricity, disruption of your banking, all sorts of things are coming. Now, why is it said so? Because Biden warns Russian cyber attack is coming. This is actually this week. President Joe Biden on Monday warned of Russian cyber attack against US, making his most prominent alert yet about what he called new intelligence concerning Putin regime's plan. The more Putin's back is against the wall, the greater the severity of tactics he may employ. One of the tools he most likely to use, in my view, in our view, cyber attacks, Biden said on Monday. By the way, you think that the elites of this world want us to be protected? They will use these means. They will use these means to change the present world order. That's what they are doing. Okay, they are waiting for a crisis to change things. That might be the reason why General Jack Keane says US is pushing Zelensky to make a deal with Russia. Business Update 2020. This was actually today. General Jack Keane is a pretty good general, and his information is solid. He was saying today that they are forcing, in a sense, kind of pushing Zelensky to have a deal with Russia. Then why couldn't they do it earlier? They had to wait till this man just destroys the country, and now White House is asking Zelensky to basically make a deal with Russia. They could have asked this before, right? So it looks like right from the beginning there was something in the whole thing that they wanted Ukraine to be bashed in. At least the West wanted Ukraine to be bashed in. Otherwise, why say now? These people are all intelligent people. After being completely grounded and pulverized, right? If you look at the Ukrainian cities, all of them are pretty much pulverized. And now the White House is forcing Zelensky to make a deal with Putin. They should have done it before. Remember one thing. Don't think that the nations of the world, especially the prominent nations of the world, are very truthful and straightforward. They are not. They are not. Especially powerful nations are not. On the domestic side, demand for safe rooms skyrocket in Los Angeles because, life is mimicking drama. What kind of movies are they putting out? Gruesome killing and all sorts of weird activities going on. Right? That's what they are putting in their movies. So naturally, it's coming to their doorsteps. Amid crime concerns, wealthy homeowners seek to install panic rooms with some steel encased version, but $1 million to build, while one Malibu project includes a secret tunnel out to the beach. Because people are being killed, especially in LA and other places, rich places, places where rich people live. Crimes are at a very high rate right now. These movie stars, and they want these metal rooms inside, tunnels inside their homes. Because of the perceived increase in crime in metropolitan areas and high profile murders and robberies in high net worth neighborhoods like Beverly Hills, hidden rooms are definitely trending right now, says Cryer. Some panic room owners are not waiting on the police to arrive, instead, taking matters into their own hands. Hartonian recalls one house he saw in Hidden Hills. I think there was more artillery in that in there than probably one of the bunkers in the U.S. Army. He said there were packs of food that wouldn't go bad for 2 years. Television, microwave, small bathrooms. I mean, it was like a little self-sufficient, almost studio apartment, if you will, ready to take on the zombie apocalypse. Other buyers are not just interested in staying safe within the homes. They are intent on being able to get out. We even have done bunkers and tunnels. We have done a project out in Malibu. They wanted a secret tunnel out to the beach so that they could escape like a secret bunker, said Cryer. Because murders are going up high, all sorts of, and these rich people are the ones that are targeted. Why? Because the prosecutors in the city are not prosecuting the criminals. They go into the jail, and within 1 day or 2 days, $1,000 bail, they come out. Naturally, they are emboldened. The thieves or the robbers or these criminals are emboldened. They go into these homes, they kill people, get their stuff, especially rich homes. They kill people, get their stuff, and walk off. So now people are now the rich ones in these cities who've been making these kind of movies anyways, right? These Hollywood types who make violent, vulgar movies. They have to deal with their drama now. So what is happening on the Christian side? Well, I'm positively sure next Sunday many churches will be singing his songs or the songs that are produced by him or his band, whatever it is. Hillsong Board blames medicines and alcohol for landing Brian Houston in a women's hotel room because he was so drunk once and walked into a women's room. Nobody knows what happened. They were there in 45 minutes, but this is the pastor of a church. And it's his songs that many of them sing. Hillsong founder Brian Houston allegedly spent time alone in a hotel room with a woman, not his wife, in 2019 after consuming anti-anxiety medication and alcohol, the board of directors of Hillsong revealed today. Now the thing is this: do we have to wait till this time to understand that he's actually a hireling? That this man is a shyster? Huh? He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Did we have to wait this long? Can't we just look at the songs that these people produce and understand that they have nothing Christian in them? The board statement, which came as the story was breaking in Australian press, said board has been dealing with 2 complaints made against Pastor Brian over the last 10 years. It added that each was investigated by a board member or a body appointed by the global board and dealt with confidentially, of course. The other complaint related to accusation that Houston had flirted with a staff member over a text message a decade ago, again after drinking. So what do? Hillsong has purged Brian Houston's preaching from Hillsong website. They have already done their damage, right? They have actually taken over people's soul and consigned them to hell for eternity. Now he is found out. Now everybody is finding out that this guy was also a wolf in sheep's clothing. In these times we need discernment. Nothing good can come out of these people. The songs may be of good tune and everything, but tune is not the only thing that matters, right? Does it speak to our spirit? Is it edifying? Who are we singing to? Right? Out of a golden vessel comes good water, but out of a dirty vessel comes dirty water. You cannot have good water or a good drink from a dirty vessel, because the vessel dirties the water. This kind of people cannot do any good. Even if they were good ones, they cannot keep themselves good, because you're dealing with the world, money, and your own flesh, right? If we are not very humble and if we don't keep ourselves humble continually, but the world likes popularity. The world likes these flashy lights and smoke screens, and sorry, the smoke machines, and nice sweet tuned songs, and they sing to the human side, the fleshly side of us, and we don't understand that this is just the flesh. They are spiking up your flesh. It has nothing spiritual in it, because we think that, just because we are excited, we think that we are singing to God. But deception, these people are deceiving. Even their videos and how they've been doing these nowadays, especially the Hillsong Church in Australia, and this man. Don't think that this man became like this. He was actually like this for a long time. For a long time. And almost all the pastors in the church that he established, they've been all caught with the same problem. If we could read a portion, Revelation chapter 16, verses 13 onwards. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet 3 unclean spirits like frogs. Dragon, beast, and the false prophet. This is called the unholy trinity. Just like there's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Likewise also you have the satanic trinity. Satan, Antichrist, the false prophet. 3. And out of all 3 of them comes out what? The false spirit, or a deceiving spirit, an unclean spirit, and they are represented by a frog. That is why in Eastern religion, they are so much into frogs, because frogs represent unclean spirits. I don't know if you look at, remember, there's a reason why the Holy Spirit denotes certain things in a particular animalistic form, because that form has its own function and it represents something. Kingdom of God is represented by a tree because it has life in it. But on the other hand, demonic spirits are represented, especially this spirit, the deceiving spirit. It came out of their mouth and it is like frogs, right? These demonic spirits were like frogs. That's why, especially in the Eastern religion, if you look at Eastern religion, frog is an important component. By the way, frogs are they do also represent magic. If you look at cartoons, especially movies, Hollywood movies, right? Frog is an important character because it has got a demonic importance. Now, for they are the spirit of demons. They are the spirit of demons. They are represented, the Holy Spirit represents the spirit of demons as frogs, like frogs. It's not they are frogs, they are like frogs, which means that animal's nature and its quality and character, its image is there in that spirit. For they are spirit of demons performing signs, they deceive, which go out to the kings of the whole earth to gather them together for war of the great day of God the Almighty. Behold, I am coming like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and keeps his clothes, so that he will not walk about naked, and men will not see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place which is in Hebrew called Harmageddon. Harmageddon. Now, these frogs are the ones that go around the world and they deceive people, right? They deceive people. And how do they deceive people? They deceive people by performing signs. You know, after the rapture, this world is going to be it's going to be just like what you see or what they kind of depict in the Hollywood movies. Things out of your imagination will show up, and people on the earth will be deceived. Now, what are these frogs doing? No, well, sorry. What are these demonic spirits doing? They are like frogs, okay? They are not frogs, they are like frogs. Let me emphasize that again. These demonic spirits are not frogs, they are like frogs. Right? But they have the ability to perform signs and wonders. And they'll deceive people. And these signs and wonders, what happens is, it will motivate the people to gather where? It will motivate the people to gather in Israel. Right? You think Putin went to war without seeing signs? Huh? Remember, nations go to war because their leaders see signs. You know, even in this postmodern times, of course, they don't believe in God. They believe in every other deceptive things. It is because they don't believe in God. God, has given them over to believe false things. Because they hate the truth and they do not believe in the truth. They've been given over to these demonic spirits. Even nowadays, don't forget this. Even now, nations go to war because they are deceived. So also in the last days, nations or people will be gathering together in a place called Armageddon, which is basically in modern day Israel. And the Lord Jesus will come down, completely destroy the army of the Antichrist. So deception, demonic activity, demonic deception, going to war, gathering people to war, all these things that are happening right now, what you see, right, what we saw, which is basically bringing out the new currency and going to war and the fact that they are so confident that they're going to go into the new world order as if they are the architect of it. They may have been thinking all these things, but they are actually deceived by these kind of spirits because they hate the knowledge of the truth. By the way, when all these things happen, when we see digital dollar coming in, we know that they are going to control us. When we see that food prices are going to go up high, we may also see empty shelves. We will see empty shelves. Let us say food supplies are going to go low, and we see nations, and there will be riots. Remember, whenever there is shortage of food, there are going to be riots in the world. Do you remember what happened in 2010 in Tunisia? It started in Tunisia. It's called the Arab Spring. Do you know why it started in Tunisia? What really happened there? Because the wheat that was supposed to come from Siberia didn't show up. So there was a food shortage and people rioted against the government. That's how it started. The food shortage, food is so important and fundamental to us, right? If we don't get food, that is when the tempter comes to tempt. You see what happened when the Lord, he was tempted when he was hungry, right? Food shortage is a place where riots start. And so it's not just food shortage everywhere and people just sitting around doing nothing. No. They are going to stand up against their governments. And things like these riots will happen. By the way, America was also involved in stroking those riots, no doubt about it. No doubt. Of course, nations were there. And in this present environment, nations will be there to stroke anti-governmental rioting. So fasten your seatbelts. Things are going to change. It may be very slow, but suddenly it'll catch up. Suddenly it'll catch up. Right? What are we supposed to do when we don't see food in the food on the shelf? Let us say it's getting expensive. Let's say another pandemic show or cyber attacks or whatever it is. Our life is inconvenienced. And let us say we are in extreme trouble. What have the Lord said? The Lord clearly told us one thing: do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. So we have to be very careful. If there is one thing that you need to take from today's class, it's this: do not be afraid. If you are a person who's got the quality of being afraid at anything, make sure that you kind of fasten up yourself and trust in the Lord, because the Lord has said, do not be afraid. Doesn't really matter what your present condition is. Right? We always look our circumstances from our present condition. Well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, what am I going to do? Because I'm already stuck. Make sure one thing: make preparations, spiritual preparations. That's what I'm trying to say. Spiritual preparations, material preparations, if we can. Sure. If the Lord allows you, and if you're able to do it, do material preparation. But spiritually being prepared, to be bold, to know that these things are happening, but the Lord has said, do not be afraid. When these things happen, do not be afraid. That's what he has said. Because these things are to happen and should happen. So make sure that you are not swayed left or right, that we know that these things are all written. It should happen. Well, in any case, we are in the hands of God. We are in his hands. Right? And so that confidence in the Lord should be ours. And the Lord said, I give you peace, not like the world gives you. Peace in the midst of tribulation. Now we should be more concerned about the fact that, hey, in the midst of trouble, am I having peace? If I'm not having peace, then we need to question, Lord, I do not have, you basically said, do not be afraid, but I'm swaying left and right. Please, Lord, give me the stability that is needed. Approach the throne of grace, right? Approach the throne of grace, so that in times of trouble, you'll be comforted. We cannot think like normal human beings. We cannot think in normal ways because these are not going to be normal times. We have to be prepared both mentally, physically. When I say mentally, I'm talking about spiritually, right? Peter talks about girding the loins of your mind. So we have to gird the loins of our mind. We cannot sway. We cannot be afraid. We should not be afraid. Whatever happens, whatever happens. What they are saying right now is, you know why the prices? I've heard this before. The house prices are going up high, or at least was going up high previously, because all the new houses as well as the old ones were bought out. We think that all these are basically new buyers. No. 29% of the house, about 30% of the homes, one third of the homes are brought by companies. Okay? Like Blackstone and big, huge investing companies. Huge companies with billions and billions of dollars worth of investment money they had. They come into these major cities and they're just buying homes. And so what happens is this, the prices of the homes are going up high. What are they doing? They are buying these homes and putting it out for rent. Because remember the video that we saw a couple of, probably 1 year back? You will own nothing and be happy. Remember that video? You will own nothing and be happy. Which is basically you'll be renting. Everybody will be eventually, that's what they want. Now, of course, 30%, about 29 to 30% of the homes are in their hands now. I'm talking about these big, large companies, okay? And this is a known thing right now. That's what, if you ask a realtor, they'll tell you most of the purchases are basic. When I say most, one third of the purchases are investment purchases. And it's not just, small time investors that are buying it. It's just large investors that are buying it. Because eventually they want everybody to rent, right? They want everybody to rent. And so who knows what is going to happen? Remember, everything that is in your hand, hold it lightly. Whenever the Lord decides that it shouldn't be in your hand anymore, be happy. Press on ahead. As long as we are going to stand before Him, we will be okay. So we have to have that kind of mentality. Let the Lord bless us, enable us. Praise the Lord. Any questions?